Okay, so hello everyone. A warm welcome from UCL, and also thank you for joining us today for this virtual open day event for the Sustainable Built Environment, Energy and Resource Program. Usually we short form that as the SPEAR program because the name is just too long. So my name is Ricci, and I'm a lecturer in the department and also program co-lead of this SPEAR program. So that will be my pleasure to have the chance to speak to you all today, especially those who come to us more internationally. I saw from the attendees named, we have quite an international cohort here. And I hope that we today can give you a useful and also inspiring insight into what you can study here in UCL. So just before we begin, a quick note to let you know that the session will be recorded so that if you miss anything or if you want to revisit anything today, we'll send you the recording, and also the recording will be on YouTube as well. Just to walk you through the structure of today's sessions, so we'll begin by we'll have our colleague Nahi, who is also the program co-lead of this program, to walk you through the structure of the program and also everything you need to know about the BSc route and also the MEng route of this program. Of course, we'll also talk about a little bit about the career prospect and also some of the student achievement that we have in the program. We also have Rachel today as a student representative, student ambassador here to tell you a little bit about the program from the student perspective. And we'll end today's sessions with the Q&A sessions. So if everything is
Great.
okay in the chat, yeah, otherwise I'll hand the mic to Nahi to start the sessions.
Thank you very much, Ricci. So hello, everyone. And again, welcoming to from my side to the Sustainable Built Environment, Energy and Resource Program. So it's a new brand program which developed and delivered in the last 2 years with a collaboration between the 4 institutes of the Bartlett School of Environment, Energy and Resources. So it's a very much multidisciplinary program. It's a kind of collaboration between 4 institutes I listed here. So this is just the colleagues from the first year, myself and the colleague of me, Ricci, and also the teaching crew they are primarily the first year, but they are not only from academics, but also from industry. So I would like to start the presentation with this question: why is the study of sustainable built environments, energy and resources important? Why did we develop these programs? So that might be very interesting to you. So most of you or many of you might know about the different challenges that human societies are dealing with nowadays. So climate change is one of the main ones. And of course, we very much heard about it in the news. Energy crisis, air pollution, pandemic. So these are other challenges that human societies are dealing with. And so we need to deal with these challenges. We need to adapt our built environments, buildings and cities to become more environmentally sustainable, climate resilient, and also resource efficient. So to deal with this kind of challenge and bring solution for these kind of problems, of course, we develop this program to give you the really necessary skills that could deal with this solving or bringing some innovative solution for several of these challenges. This program, of course, it's developed based on this kind of multidisciplinary and research-based teaching, which is also very interesting from this point of view when we are dealing with the challenges which are very complicated. And another aspect here, of course, is to bring not only the socioeconomic and environmental and engineering aspect, but also data science part to the program to deal with these challenges. So, as I said, these challenges are, of course, they are not only standalone challenges, so dealing with the building and the problems with the cities, energy, resources, and economics, but they are also interconnected, and that makes these challenges much more complicated to deal with. So the challenges are not, of course, related to this a few points I made, but also the cities are growing, the populations are expanding, they are expanding. We have at the moment 8 billion people. in the planet, and by 2050, this would be nearly 10 billion. So this brings a huge demand on our cities, building infrastructure, and the same for cities. They are growing, and they are becoming, people are more living in the urban areas than rural areas in compare with what the previous years would be, and also in the future. So we know that, of course, the built environment and cities, the contribution in different resources for energy, for climate change. But here may be a very interesting fact for you that would be cities, even they occupy less than 3% of the Earth's dry land, but their contribution to the natural resources, 70%, we are using those. 60 to 80% of global energy use by the cities, and also 75% of the CO2 emissions. So these are the huge, in fact, consequence for the human being. And in addition, but these are the somehow negative aspect. The good aspect is the cities are the engine of economic growth. They are the center for innovation and technology, and we can bring a lot of course, not only the general solution, but also intelligence to solve these problems. So there are several kind of challenges, more specific ones I mentioned here, for example, which you will deal with during this particular program. For example, energy consumptions for the buildings or for cities, for need to make them much more energy efficient. We need to make our cities, our buildings, adapt to climate change. We need to bring the clean air not only to the outdoor but also indoor of the buildings, improving the quality of life and urban health, and also resource use. We need to make them much more efficient, and also increase the contribution of economic services in different aspects, for example, food, water, and waste. So several of these solutions you will deal with in this particular program in a much more detail. So, but I listed here some of them, for example, dealing with the electric vehicles, how to make cities, to encourage the people living in the cities to use the public transport, or active transportation like biking or walking. Also how to make the renewable energy productions increased, and how to make our local food production. So there are several of solutions here we mentioned. This is a much more, of course, detailed in a different ways you will deal with in this program. It's not only, of course, about the general sustainability solutions. We would like to talk to you about, or to bring a lot of skills in relation to the smart city solutions. So listed here some of them. So I mentioned here very specifically what you would like to, or what you will learn in this program. So it's not about the socio-environmental and economic theories that, of course, you will learn, but also something related to more technical aspects like mathematics and statistics. You will learn a lot about data analytics, modeling and simulation, and also decision making. And in this program, there are, of course, different type of modules. You will learn a lot of work with the different tools and softwares. And using those, you can, of course, bring your creativity and innovation solution to the real world problems. So apart from this theoretical knowledge related to different challenges, of course, we listed several of them: climate change, CO2 emissions, but also the technical knowledge. So apart from these two, you will learn a lot about the leadership, critical thinking, communication, and problem-solving skills. So one of the very important part of this program, or one of the main motivation for this program to develop, was combination of these three aspects. So it is unique from this point of view, at least at the level of undergraduates. So the three aspects of this program: engineering and environment, economics and resource, and data analytics, for the first times they combine together to give you the knowledge, the technical skills to deal with these challenges we discussed. So I just go very briefly about in different aspects of this program. For example, several modules related to engineering and environment. So I've just listed here, but you can see very briefly from the illustrations here that some of them related to, of course, more engineering, heat transfer, building physics, and some of them more general aspect of the dealing with the human as such within the buildings concept. So there are, of course, several of the modules listed here related to the economics and resource and the policies and decision making. So this is also interconnected to the previous section or modules. And then we have a programs modules in this program, which are particularly related to the data analytics and decision makings. And these are also primarily you work within the Python programming if you are interested in. So another aspect of this program, which is of course unique again, is there are several modules. For each term, you have a sustainable city challenge and sustainable building challenge. These are the 30 credit modules, and they are core modules in this program. And so it is not, of course, very much the theory of the sustainable cities and buildings, but also the practical aspect of it, particularly in these 30 credit modules. You will learn from academics and also from the industry. Very much they are setting up or collaborating together and setting up a lot of hands-on problems and related to the real life challenges. And so you can work during the tutorial sessions with the colleagues to learn a lot about these real life challenges in relation to the sustainability, not only at the building scale, but also at the city level. And that's what very much this building sustainable building challenge and sustainable city challenge all about. So just in a very brief way, it is unique in this program in terms of project-based learning. So the exams are very limited in this program. So they are very much project for each term, of course. Several of the courseworks you will deliver. The approach here is primarily problem-solving approach, and very much colleagues working in a research area, and they give you a very clear case studies that they have been working during their own research. And these are real case studies, and you will learn a lot about how to deal with the real problems. Contribution from industry is a very strong, as I said to you, particularly for sustainable city challenge and sustainable building challenge. And so this is something that we embedded in the program, and I hope you enjoy during in case you choose these programs, you enjoy this part of the program, which is we are working on that as well. So there are a lot of tools and softwares during this program for each modules. The Energy Plus is one of the kind of high level of the program, which will be year 3 and year 4, focusing very much on the engineering aspect of the energy. The NVMet is an environmental software, and you learn a lot during this particular software, how to deal with the green infrastructure, how the human comfort will be within this concept as a kind of city or neighborhood scale. The city analyst tools is very much in the concept of, again, energy simulation, but it's at the neighborhood scale or the city scale. And then GIS is another software that you will learn a lot. Python programming and machine learnings, they are also a component of this program. So you will have in each year Python and machine learning module related. So field trip, it's also a fun part of this program. So we just come back now with the students year 2 from a very exciting field trip. So we will go normally in 2 places. Is in the Sustainability Center. One is in the Petersfield, and the other one is in the Center for Alternative Technology in Wales. So these are, of course, kind of experimental lab, I would say. I call it in this way. So there are a lot of things that you learn during your modules in a theoretical way or also on the paper in the project. You can see it here in a kind of practical way. So for example, people were in Sustainability Center, they were looking at some retrofitting. We were looking at also in the Center for Alternative Technology, looking at how the wind turbine works, how the solar panel works. So it's in a very small scale. So you can have some experimental kind of work to see how this all of this technology that you will deal with during your coursework can operate. So one thing that you can also be interested in this program is the program has a two path. One is the 3 years BSc and the other one is 4 years MEng. So 3 years BSc is a very much general sustainability, and if you are looking for again a kind of transferable skills to kickstart your career in the general sustainability sector, this is for you, and you can choose only the BSc route. But for those who are more interested in specific or to be specialized in sustainability as an engineer, so they can choose the 4-year MEng. And of course, the 4-year MEng is the aim to become the accredited by the Engineering Council in UK as a professional accreditation degree, which is of course we aim to get for the 4-year only. And so normally students can decide at the beginning, but if you haven't decided yet at the beginning, you can decide at the end of year 2. So up to the first 2 years, every modules are the same between the MEng and BSc. So some of the BSc modules I listed here, so I don't go through all of them, but what is very important I wanted to emphasize is this highlighted orange ones. They are sustainability challenge and sustainability building challenge and city challenge. So these are the 30 credit modules and core modules of this program. There are of course several technical and also policy and decision making modules, which are 15 credit modules. Interesting things here that you have at the term 2 in year 3 for BSc, you have 2 optional modules. You can choose from a list that we of course provide for you, and you can expand your knowledge or excel in some of the field that you are much more interested in. And then of course BSc dissertation, which is 30 credit modules at the term 3. So for MEng is more or less the first 2 years is the same, but then that would be from term 2, and the 2 routes is split. So the students, they will have much more specialized modules in engineering, which is here human health, comfort, and well-being in sustainable buildings, and then of course much more engineering zero carbon, and then some more engineering modules in year 4. And the same structure, the students can choose between 2 optional modules at term 2 in year 4, and the dissertation, which is 30 credit modules. So some of the students' work here, I've showed that it's much more planning aspect, but what is very interesting is these students are just only the first year, and they did a great job here using the software, GIS software, and some statistical tools. So they were able to analyze the air pollution in Hackney, is one of the municipality in London. And so this is a very interesting research, of course, for the first year students is quite comprehensive work to do. This is much more engineering work, and so sustainable building challenge, whole life cycle assessment. So the students were supposed here, they given a practice to do a kind of designing a cafe, and then they look at the energy performance of the buildings, and so how much the energy demand, the energy resources, and how much the balance between these two. And this is also again students in year 1, they did a great job. Some of the sustainability challenge projects, students, of course, this is much more volunteering, and students in term 3 are we at UCL primarily is exam, but we introduce some project, and students, they are free to choose from a list of project. And of course, some of the students, they are back to their own country, but some they stay and they select this challenge to do, and it's a very exciting project to work on with that. So this is also projects which is developed here and by students. So is and the students is here, Rachel, with Marina, and so it's a very, very exciting work they have done, and super work developing the website from scratch themselves, and they look at the air pollutions kind of distribution of air pollution across London schools. And so it's a very useful work. They and had a great actually publicity at UCL in the Bartlett School. So we had it in the news as well. So and the last page from the beginning of this part is about the students' achievement. So the UCL has a great variety of the kind of plans or programs that students in year one now, they selected several of these either scholarships or some competition. And so they selected themselves either in consultation with us or with their personal tutor, and they got some awards. So it's a very exciting program across UCL. So now I hand it to Rachel, our students here, to go ahead, please.
Hello everyone, so my name is Rachel Cole and I'm currently a second year student studying Sustainable Built Environments, Energy and Resources, and I'm also currently on the MEng pathway. So I'm hoping today just to give you a bit of an insight into the student experience and some things I've really enjoyed about my degree so far. So firstly, why did I choose this course? So as I'm sure you all know, the Bartlett really has a reputation which really precedes itself, and it's repetitively been ranked the #1 place in the world to study the built environment. And I really feel like this ranking is reflected in the quality teaching I've received as a student so far. So we have really high caliber lectures, and we also have really interesting guest lecturers from both the industry and also from academia. But I suppose moving on to why I really chose this degree in terms of module selection was actually the opportunity to really build that holistic insight into sustainable development. Because of a range of modules we get to study, as Nahid has just gone through, so you get to go through maths, statistics, energy, and also economics, policy, buildings, and cities infrastructure. Oh, sorry, not next. Could you go back, please? You really do get that insight into sustainable development, and you can really help tailor your interest towards the modules that you study. And that really leads me on to the various career paths that you can explore. So if you're anything like myself, I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do with my life before I came to university. I just knew I wanted to work in a field where I could really have a positive impact on society. And I've really felt like due to my modules, I've really been able to gain that insight in that direction in my career of where I'd want to go. And personally, I'm really interested in working in the built environment or energy sectors as a consultant or engineer, but I have friends who are really interested in working in climate finance, corporate sustainability, and also just general engineering and decision making, even the government and the United Nations. So if we just go on to my next slide, please. So before I crack on to this slide, I have a quick photo on the left of when myself and my friend were preparing for our policy presentation, and we were able to select our topic. So we looked at sea cucumbers, which was a really fun, different thing to investigate. And you can really look at any kind of interest that you do have when you have that freedom, and I would completely recommend that. But just more on my favourite modules. So I'd say two of my favourite modules were the Sustainable Cities Challenges and Sustainable Building Challenge modules. And as Nahid just briefly mentioned earlier, these are two 30-credit modules. So this means that they're double weighted in your final year grade. And you also have them in year 1, year 2, and I also believe in year 3 if you're doing the MEng pathway. So in the Sustainable Cities Challenge module, I really enjoyed being able to work in part of a group. So there's a group aspect and there's also an individual coursework. So in the group, we were able to explore the resources and systems issues. So we were looking at London Borough and exploring different sustainability challenges. And we really did gain experience with different softwares like QGIS, where we were able to do spatial mapping, which is something which is really relevant in the industry and wider academia. And as for the individual project, we were able to explore using a city energy analyst software to explore different retrofit scenarios for improving sustainability of a specific scenario we were looking at. So once again, that module, we really did gain a lot of transferable skills there. As for the Sustainable Buildings Challenges module, as you may have guessed, it was more focused on the building side of things. And in year 1, we looked at the whole life performance of a building. So this was looking at carbon emissions from cradle to grave, as they say, looking at all the emissions associated from material manufacture and transfer, and also making sure looking at the operational demand of these buildings and the end of life requirements. And we gained experience with software like One-Click LCA, and we also then used different thermal modelling software to explore different opportunities. As for the year 2 module, we're currently exploring a retrofit of a heritage building, and we're using passive house design software, which is extremely relevant in the industry at the moment, to explore different retrofit pathways for for a building which is really restricted by heritage constraints. So once again, really problem solving and solving a real world problem there, which is something I've really enjoyed about both of these modules. Just moving on to the energy and environmental systems module. So in year 1, this was really looking at the building physics of a building. And I personally didn't have any background in physics before studying this degree other than GCSE, but I've really felt like the quality and level of teaching that I received, I was not on the back foot at all. I really felt like it was a really enjoyable module, and it was really, interesting to apply maths in a scenario which I hadn't done before. I just really enjoyed that module, to be honest. It was one of my favourites. But in year 2, we have a very similar module with similar name, but it's actually more looking at the modelling side of things. So this is actually looking at the UK Times model. And if you're not too familiar with that, but it's basically an academic model being used by the UK government and also the National Grid to explore different decarbonisation pathways for the United Kingdom. And so you get to gain experience with a real life energy model, which is actually being used to influence UK's net zero strategy. So that is something I'm currently doing, and it's something I'm really enjoying, being able to problem solve and gain these transferable skills. And just finally, probably my favourite module of my degree so far is actually the machine learning and Python module. So I didn't have any background in this once again, but I really enjoyed the quality teaching I received, and the topics were very well laid out. And just being able to learn about different algorithms and how I could manipulate the feature engineering to help predict electricity consumption in London using Python was something I really enjoyed. It's something I'd never done before. And to the point I enjoyed it so much, I'm now converting my coursework into a piece of academic research over the summer. So I'm really looking forward to getting on with that. But I guess if I just were to summarize, you really get to problem solve and you get so much experience with different software, which is really transferable towards your career in the industry. So if we just go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Ooh, sorry. So just to move on to workload and time management. So from my experience so far, it's been roughly around 16 hours of contact per week, but you can get one day off. So it's actually only 4 hours per day, which is a lot less than the time you may be spending at secondary school. So it's very manageable. You can still have a social life, you can join societies, you can still get your work done. But obviously when you're studying multiple modules at a time, it's really important you're prioritizing the tasks, allocating your time effectively, and managing those multiple deadlines and other commitments that you do have as a student. So it's really important that you do reach out for help when you need it, and your personal tutor, which every student at UCL will receive, can be that primary source of contact for yourself. So whether that's if you need careers advice, general academic advice, or you just need some support, that is someone that every student can reach out to. And also you can also reach out to your module leads if you need that help or one-on-one teaching about a certain topic. You can also book some office hours with them. And in my experience, all the module leads have been very helpful and willing to answer your inquiries, whether it be in person or by email as well. So we just move on to the next slide, please. So just finally, I wanted to wrap up with some extracurricular opportunities. So I've just listed out a few societies here. So we've got the Green Economy Society, the Climate Action Society, and the Bartlett Sea Society, which are quite relevant to the degree. And the Bartlett Sea Society is actually more of a department society with a few of the other Bartlett schools. But they do host a series of formal events. So they recently did the Bartlett Ball, which I attended with a few of the course mates, which is the bottom left photo on that little collage, which is really fun to spend some time with people outside of the academic setting and just, relax a bit. But something that Nahid also just touched on was actually the sustainability challenge, and that is an extracurricular I would really recommend getting involved with if you can. It normally occurs in the term 3 of the academic year, so you actually don't normally have any teaching around then, and you can basically work with your friends or by yourself, and you can engage in a project that you're really interested in, build some CV experience, and also take that further, present it, and get an award for it if you're lucky, like myself and my friend did. But we were able to take it even further from UCL, as Nahid briefly mentioned, and we actually ended up chairing a meeting for Greater London Authority and presenting our work to them, who are now using this tool that we built to help influence new tree planting policy at London's most polluted schools. So that's a really proud achievement I have, and it's something that's really stemmed from the skills that I've built at UCL so far. But just moving on to some Bartlett exclusive internships. So currently the Bartlett have a consultancy project called Building a Better Future Consultancy project, which you can get involved with, and it's completely exclusive to built environment students, so it's a bit less competitive, and you can work with a real company. So for example, I've recently been accepted into the scheme to work with Bureau Happold, but there's many other companies as well at Horley, and there's also you can work with Greater London Authority districts as well. In a real world consultancy project, we can really build that CV, but also have that real, mini internship experience. So that's something I'd also recommend getting involved with, and it's a really nice and straightforward application process, so that's something that might worry people. And if you're from a less disadvantaged background like myself, so if you meet any of the UCL access criteria, any income requirements, and also if your parents didn't go to a university and you went to a UK state school like myself, you can also apply to be part of UCL Extra. So they help you in finding some opportunities for students who don't have, that kind of network or have that, any kind of like privileged background, and, finding those opportunities, and they have exclusive internships available to you from there as well. And finally, there are a lot of field trips on the course. So whether this be going away to Wales, or recently we went to the South Downs of Winchester. That's the bottom right photo in the collage, actually. So we went tree climbing, we built campfires, we baked some bread, and we just generally had a really nice time outside in the wilderness, away from academia. And it was just nice to spend time with people. But you also do have some field trips to academic settings. So we went to the Pearl Research Lab, and we also went to Thamesmead to explore a different site visit for one of the modules that we're currently studying. And you really, I guess, get that experience, outside of the classroom, and you really get to integrate it throughout, and also just have a good time with your course mates and friends that you make along the way. So that marks the end of my little slide. So if you wouldn't mind moving on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rachel. Thanks for very comprehensive. So now continue with the entry requirement for this program. So at the moment, the A level, what we need from you is the AAA from, of course, the A level marks, and one of the A should be in maths. So we are changing this entry requirement, but for the next year, I think this would be the case. And if you have the international baccalaureate, so IB diploma, the requirement is 38 points with a total of 18 points in 3 higher level subjects. But the mathematics is, of course, one of the main requirements as grade 6, and no higher level score below 5. So there are some minor other qualifications. So I would recommend you to look at the UCL online for more details. There is also UCL Access is a contextual offer schemes for applicants from the groups that are underrepresented at UCL. And you need to check, and if you are eligible applicant for that, you will receive an offer that is slightly lower than the standard entry requirements. For example, instead of AAA, you need ABB, and so still A in math is the compulsory requirement. And as to the international baccalaureate, so it's instead of 38, you need 34 points, and the total of 16 points in 3 higher level, including math at grade 6. And again, check for other qualification, please. So would be maybe interesting for you to know about the career of future for this particular program. So there are many, some of the possible future careers we listed here in general. So it would be multinational consultancy, international organization, UN is one of them, for example, Lloyd's another one. Energy industry, it's very much targeting this program, building, design, and construction industry, if you are interested in, and governments and local authorities. It's also another good target for this program. Startup energy companies and sustainable finance is something that we really recommend so as a future career. I somehow split these careers into for BSc route and for a MEng route in a more specific way. So for the BSc route, the career could be sustainability analyst, sustainability manager, policy advisor, building consultant, or energy modeling consultants if you are interested in sustainable finance and sustainable finance consultant. So these are just very general possible routes that you could take, and also for the MEng one. So it is much more engineering, sustainability engineer, for example, or architectural engineer, building energy engineers, energy system, or if you like, sustainability data analyst. So these are, of course, a bit examples of a very wide range of new industries may come soon, and so you could also choose from those. So I think I would end here with my last slide. So the next step, of course, is to apply for UCAS. So the code is provided here, and if you would like to have any questions, so you could contact us later on, but at the moment, we would be happy to answer you in a, if you have any question, please send your question to the chat box, Q&A, and I'm happy to answer myself, and Ricci, colleague of mine, would be happy to answer.
Thank you, Nahid, and thank you, Rachel. That was really, really interesting. While we wait for people to put their questions in the chat, I just thought maybe there's a couple of things we could give a bit more information on. So obviously this is a brand new course, so it launched in 2023. How do you think it compares to a more traditional engineering or environmental science degree?
So are you asking me, Sam?
Yeah, you're Ricci. Yeah.
So I think, I mean, in this department particularly, we have another engineering, which is primarily focusing on architecture engineering and also design aspect. Whereas this, I would say this program, it is from the sustainability point of view, is quite unique. So it is a very much broad, but with the three main focus. It would be more engineering and environmental. It would be more data science and also economic. So this is something I would very much emphasize that is missing from some of the engineering programs in a kind of traditional way, that we have combined these three disciplines together to give you a very unique skills that you need to bring in the future for any interested path for career you would like to choose. So this is, from this point of view, I would like, this is a very unique aspect and is slightly different from the traditional kind of engineering way. There is also another aspect I would like to maybe emphasize here is in this program, particularly, we very much focusing on the real life challenges and working with the industry. So this is something unique in this program, and we have a lot of these modules where the colleagues or co-leads of the modules are coming from the industry, and they bring a lot of examples, projects, or some of the courseworks directly from industry, which could be very interesting from the sustainability point of view. You can see what is the real life problems, and you can just start to bring solutions to that. And again, with a kind of broad aspect of the sustainability rather than a very much focus on, say, that one aspect. So this is my perspective. If Ricci would like to add some.
Of course, but maybe we can leave it later because there are quite a lot of questions in the chat box. Why don't we just address these questions before we come to a more general discussions?
Yeah, that's a good idea. So there's a question here. I think, Rachel, you may be the best person to answer this. Obviously, a lot of people choose to come to UCL because of its location in London. And Sophia's asked, what's life like on campus?
Well, there's definitely a lot going on, that's for sure. I mean, what you get out of campus is definitely what you put in. If you're willing to go out there and take these opportunities and get involved with things like different society events or random different things happening on campus, like there's a lot of different sustainability focused events like pop-up repair shops and stuff, but there's also just like a lot of different pop-ups normally going on. There's normally someone in the UCL main courtyard promoting something. But as in life in London in general, there's definitely always an event going on. Like my friend normally goes to like the red carpet events, like she just books a ticket and off she goes. I mean, I even went to Britain's Got Talent and sat in last year with a few of my course mates because we just randomly got tickets. I feel like, you know, in London, there's a lot of random things that just happen that I don't think would happen anywhere else. I definitely think, you know, life on campus is really good and I really enjoy it. Hope that's helpful.
That's brilliant. I can't believe that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. It seems like there's so much going on that even I don't see, like I'm not aware of. I think there's something like 500 odd societies and clubs that the UCL Union run. And that's, yeah, you're right. There's things from things that are linked to programs, things that are people's specific interests, all the way to the very niche and obscure. I'll put a link in the chat. People can kind of have a look at what sorts of things are available. And then, yeah, you're right that London's an extremely vibrant city with so much going on. I mean, I think it's the best place to be, but I'm biased. There's a question here about the design element. Maybe Nahid and Ricci, you can answer this one. Is how much design element is there in the course, and how important is it?
How much design involved?
Yeah, so I guess there's the IO's module in the first year.
Yes, so I mean, I don't quite get that. If you mean by design, engineering design, so it is, of course, embedded in some of the sustainable building challenges. That would be primarily year 3 and year 4. So we have less design, if you wanted to say that, as regards architectural design. So it's not, it's quite different from this point of view. So there is also another program, as I said to you, in our department. So that's the MEng program, which is very much focusing on the design aspect of the buildings or neighborhoods or whatever. So this is much more into sustainability, and computational aspect of the program is much more energy and building performance and building service analysis rather than the design aspect of it. So it's less design, I would say, in this particular program.
I think it depends on the kind of design you're referring to. I think there's a clarifications over there about, like, it's the architectural design and the engineering design. We're not doing architectural design here, but focus more on the engineering design. If you're referring to the engineering design, so we teach a lot about engineering physics, how the how things are built, like in the built environment. So that part of engineering design are indeed quite core, especially in the MEng route.
Okay, I hope that answers your question. If not, brilliant. Okay, thank you. So another few just factual questions here about kind of intake and things like that. So we're currently, well, for 2025, for September, we're hoping to recruit 50 students, and that's across both routes, the BSc and the MEng course. So when we look at applications, we don't take into consideration one or the other because of that element where people can choose to change course at some point in the first year or two. So we don't therefore split things when we're looking at applications. So 50 for next year, and then hopefully 60 for the year after. In terms of requirements to change, so the academic requirements is only that we ask students to pass every module, but there's plenty of support so we can give you for that. And students who are unsuccessful, there are ways that we support through things like retakes and things like that. And there's another question here about kind of the different strands involved. Ricci, Nahid, how much overlap does this and architecture have?
Yes, well, from the built environment perspective, it is, of course, related to the architecture. So this element is common with the architecture, but architecture, you particularly if you look at the Bartlett School, so there are many programs across Bartlett. They are related to architecture, computational architecture, design architecture, so planning. So there are a lot of different aspects of architecture. So you need to see which one you are much more interested in. But what is the program, our program is all about, is the sustainability aspect of it. So we very much focus on this one. But you must know that the economic part and the data part is also linked to this engineering. So this is something different from a very kind of traditional architecture aspect. So even if you go to architecture engineering, so the data aspect is somehow missing, or the economic aspect is missing. So this particular kind of three disciplines, it's raised completely or directly from the marketing. So when we developed the program, so it has been some survey has been done within the consultancy that what type of kind of people you would like to recruit. And they particularly mentioned that if we recruit some engineering, they have a less economic or some sort of data science background. And that's the reason we include them in this particular program to make it what the industry needed. So from this point of view, I would say that it's different from architecture.
Let me add some point in. I would put it that way. In the built environment, usually focus first of all on the indoor environment and also on the city level. So there are at least two dimensions that we're looking at. You may say, like, say, for example, urban planning, usually looking at the city levels. The more traditional architecture look at the building level. So what we are doing here is sustainability. We do sustainability on the building levels and also at the city level. So if you're asking whether they're overlapping between the architectures and also like the sustainability of the built environment, I would say, of course, yes, because we need that, like we need that communication, and we also have to bridge the building levels to the city levels. Is actually exactly what the industry is lacking. We have a lot of architects. We also have the urban planner, but we don't have anyone in sustainability to bridge that communications so that we can build a city in a more sustainable way. We're building the buildings in a more sustainable way. So this is the intention of this program.
Thank you both. A question here about accreditation. So Nahid mentioned this earlier, is that the course aims to be accredited by the Engineering Council UK for MEng students only, so that when you graduate, you'll be able to register as a chartered engineer. The reason we currently don't have the accreditation is because the course is still too new at the moment. So we're in the process of putting that application together, and it will be in place for students who graduate in 2 years' time. There's a question here about applying for early access for students who haven't finished school yet. I'm not sure quite what this means, but yes, it's normal for students to make the application before they finalise their school qualifications, with the normal expectation that you finish your schooling qualifications in kind of June, July, August, so that then you're ready to join us in September when the course starts. I hope that answers the question. Question here about swapping courses within the Bartlett. It's not normally a straightforward thing to swap between programs, because normally you'd be starting kind of a brand new degree course, but it's just because we have these two routes of the Sustainable Built Environments course where you're able to make that choice of whether you want to graduate with the BSc degree at the end of the 3rd year or graduating with the MEng with the 4th year.
I'm not sure if I'm taking that.
2029?
Sorry, I'm not sure if I'm taking that questions correctly, because about like swapping course, if you're referring to BSc and also MEng, that is of course like acceptable, because this is the design of the program. We allow students to have 2 years time to consider their options. So within that first 2 years, you can easily swap between BSc and also MEng. That's just one button away in the system. If you're talking about like swapping course like within the whole faculty, then that's another question. Let me know if I'm answering your questions correctly. Sam, I'll hand back to you.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. Question from Abigail, students graduating in 2029 will leave accredited. Yes, that's the plan. For the MEng routes, of course, only. So the director of the course has another program that we run in the engineering and architectural design course. It's also accredited by the same organization, and we fully expect that we'll be able to get that in place so that students graduating on the MEng route will be accredited. Yeah. Okay, so just the clarification regarding the program transfers, it's about transferring between different courses once you're a current student. I mean, what we suggest is always ensuring that you're making the right decision when you make your applications, is that you're applying for the course that you want to study. Obviously, if you change your mind, if you kind of start exploring different things while you are here, then it's something you can explore with the different departments. But places will be, I mean, it will depend on the availability of places on courses that you're looking to transfer between, essentially. And it'll be decisions of those departments to make. So yeah, our advice is to do the research now, come to events like this, talk to us, ask us questions, and make sure that you're kind of making that decision right first time.
Yeah, my answer to that is, it can be very contextual, but I would say generally it won't be an easy pathway to make. One of the reasons is because most of the programs under the Bartlett is accredited. So let's say if you take 2 years of this program, you want to start a new one, do you have to go back to year 1? Otherwise, you can't go get the accreditation. So there are a lot of efficiency laws over there, and of course, like yeah, so you won't want that. You won't want that. So I would recommend everyone to make the decisions like clear and also like just think about the decisions. For a second week, if you realize you want to change.
I mean, yeah, it would be dependent on spaces being available. I mean, particularly for example, architecture courses are really oversubscribed, but I mean, it'd be something that we can discuss with you once you're a student here. But our advice is to do the research now and look at the courses now.
Yeah.
Find out the differences and make that application to the course that you want to study.
Yeah, it's also a year by year decisions over that, because say for example, for some of the years, like some of the programs are oversubscribed, so they don't take internal transfer anymore. And it's quite the case for architectures and also actually across the whole ballot as well.
A question about a laptop being required. Yes, we suggest that everyone has a laptop just because of all the different software that we use across the different modules, whether that's simply coding or GIS or one-click LCA or all the other things that Nahid and Rachel have mentioned earlier. But yeah, we'd recommend having a laptop. There's financial assistance you can get from UCL if that's something that's kind of out of your budget. We don't need anything particularly high end, just something that will get you through a lecture and last 2 hours on the battery, I think would be best. And UCL also has laptop loans as well, which you can explore if that's something that you might want to. But yeah, an iPad alone, I don't think will quite do it. Okay, if there's no more questions, I'm just going to wrap up with one final one that we get at most of these events, but hasn't been asked yet. It's just a question about applications for Nahid and Ricci. What would you say makes a strong application, and what kind of things should students consider when they're writing their personal statements?
Yes, thank you, Sam. So we have a little bit a shift from personal statement to the marks primarily, A-level grades. So I would definitely emphasize that to get, of course, working hard and to get a good marks. That's the first things we look at it from the admission point of view, but personal statement is also important. Of course, not only interest, but also the style of your writing, the way that you compose, the way that you write the paragraphs, the way that you express yourself. So we look at it from this point of view, how consistent you are, how you are able to express yourself in a very coherent way and in a clear and coherent way. So this is the two things that I would really recommend, but mainly from looking at the topics that we recommend in the program. So it's for us, the main subjects is, of course, math, statistics, economics, if you are interested in computer science, for example. Also, some aspect of geography is in interest for us, particularly the physical geography part of it. And the physics, chemistry, and science-based modules are in interest in this program. And so less more into the design aspect or art. So this is not very much, I would not recommend for students who really like about art or design. So it's a slightly different interest for them. Then from the personal statement, as I said, the main thing is to express yourself very clear and your interest and in a very kind of concise and clear way. That would be something we will definitely look at it.
Yeah, what I can add also is, of course, the academic result is important. You have to meet the basic requirement from UCAS, no matter it's from A-level or is you're from other qualifications. For the personal statement, I think what's important is how you demonstrate your specific interests and also your passion in sustainability. this is not an easy field, first of all. And also, I think for the UCAS, if you are making your applications, it's always about how you tailor-make your personal statement to a particular program. Sometimes you receive personal statements that are general. It's kind of like a copy and paste that is like applicable for like any programs, but not specific to, like, say, for example, our programs. So if you want to demonstrate your passions and also experience in sustainability, then you have to make it specific. So that's my advice.
Okay, thank you both. There's no further questions in the chat, and we are coming up to the end of our hour. So I think I'll wrap up here just by saying thank you to everyone for coming along. I hope you found it really interesting. Thank you to Nahid, Ricci, and Rachel for speaking and taking us through the course. I'm going to put two last links in the chat. One is the link to the program on UCL's website for more information, and our email address as well. If anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and we'll be happy to have a chat with you. So if there's nothing else, then we'll close it here. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.